right, guys, welcome back to Studio 39, aka the Bear Cave, with another episode of Spotlight 39. We've got an incredibly special guest. I am really honored that he took the time out of his evening to join me this evening to share some stories, share some laughs, probably share some tears. Never know. It could get a little emotional. But this is Coach Lohr from Orange County, Virginia. I won't do too much of his introduction, but he was Darius's direct football coach through his high school career. So before we get into it, please make sure you subscribe. Please make sure you're liking these videos. Continue to share the videos because we want to continue to grow the platform as big as we can get it so we can try to impact as many young athletes as possible because everybody's got a story to tell. I say it all the time. And with everybody's story, it can impact somebody in a positive manner. So, with that being said, I'll hand the floor to you, let you formally introduce yourself and tell us who you are, what you do, and we'll go from there.
Rob, thanks for having me on. This is an honor. Bless. Darius meant so much to us here at Orange County High School. I was blessed to be his coach at Orange County High School for 4 years. Um, I'm Jesse Lohr, the head football coach at Orange County High School, assistant athletic director, and I teach driver's ed there at the school system. And I've been coaching high school football there for right around 21 years, and been the head football coach here for the last six.
Wow.
So that's how I've come in contact with Darius. And like I said, um, special young man, and um, I'm sure we'll get into more stories. But I was blessed to have an opportunity to be his coach.
Yeah, man. So, and I didn't realize. So, you said 6 years ago you took over as head coach. Was that his freshman year?
Um, that would have been his sophomore year.
Sophomore year. Okay. Okay. Good deal.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So you had him pretty much his whole high school career. You got to see him at his best. You got to see him probably at his worst. Because he had a temper that was real low key. You got to live through the agony of him tearing his ACL at camp. Obviously you were a big part to keeping him motivated, keeping him on track and stay focused because that was a super difficult time in his life. And I know you were a big part of helping him get through that. So, if you don't mind, man, let's just kind of start early on. When you first took over and got to meet him, what type of person was he? What type of player was he? And then you can kind of just travel through, his high school career, if you don't mind, and share some stories. Share some of his skill sets that really made him excel. Obviously, the kid was fast as lightning. He could chase anybody down, like no other. I mean, it was mind blowing. But yeah, if you don't mind, kind of just start at the beginning and kind of work our way through where he ended up after he was done with high school.
Definitely. I was the offensive coordinator his freshman year,
Okay,
and I was coaching on Coach Malloy's staff there. Um,
I
and
remember
Coach
that name
Malloy
actually.
um, came in there right around the 2014, 13, and he was there for a few years. And he happened to be um, Darius's coach when he was a freshman. And Darius came on to the program kind of unannounced, not knowing too much about him, but his talent and his play and his athletic ability and um, and his smile just kind of lit up the room. But
As you can
just
see behind us,
uh,
man, it's $1 million smile.
absolutely, he got out in the field and impressed, and you could tell early on he was going to be special. And when I was um, asked to take over the program or interviewed for the program his sophomore year, I inherited a great um, talented group that was just hungry, wanted to win and be successful. We were um, in some bad times when I took over as a program, and
Sure.
I was just blessed to have a young man like Darius, and he came on the scene as a onto the scene as a sophomore, and ended up um, having several interceptions that year, and becoming I believe a well-known individual because I was starting to kind of get a lot of colleges starting to ask about him, even as young as a sophomore year, and and he went out and athletically did some other good things. He got a chance to play a little wide receiver and get out there as a returner, but athletically he was just gifted and had a chance to help take him to some camps, and we got down to Charlotte. And actually, I'm kind of ahead of myself because um, the following year or that summer of his beginning of his junior year, we were actually at UVA doing a 7-on-7 football camp, and
Mhm.
that's when he's basically in his back pedal. We were playing Highland Springs in a 7-on-7 match, and he's in his back pedal and no contact, just turns and runs, and he falls to the ground. And my eyes were up following the ball in the air being thrown, but I could hear on the sidelines just the silence, the awkward silence, and the moaning and the sounds. And as I looked down 5 feet in front of me, he was just holding his knee, and I just got kind of almost like sick to my stomach because you never want to see a kid get hurt like that. And
Oh yeah.
but then just a special talent that kind of had everything in front of him. Um, you definitely want to see a kid that potentially, you know, had everything in front of him to go chase his dreams, potentially taken from him.
Sure, sure.
And that was a weird time for the team. It was especially a down and weird time for Darius. But yeah, there were some moments there over the next so many months of um, consulting with him and talking with him and having his friends around him. Um, Kenyon was a big part of his life, and we were always around talking, um, and just getting him to understand that there's been many people, especially here in the last so many years, science has gotten so good to where people have recovered from those knee injuries,
Oh yeah.
and so
And
getting
much
his
quicker than
mind,
before.
yeah, yeah, Adrian Peterson came back in like 6 months. And so I was just trying to give them the understanding that everybody's case is different, but um, there's, there's no reason why you can't go out there and do all the rehab like you're supposed to. And this kid was just built differently. I remember fussing at him to staying off that leg um, before the surgery. He's out
Right.
there playing basketball. And he wanted to continue to play the football season, and I was just following doctor's orders. Like, no, we're gonna do the things the proper way here. And I think he went in and got the surgery and came back. And I remember Mrs. Fincham, our trainer, just kind of looking at me and talking. And he was just back doing things faster than.
I
Um,
was gonna say it felt like he came back faster than before the injury.
well, he definitely came back. At least he appeared faster because I mean, everybody matures and gets
Oh
to
yeah.
the athletic place where um, they just grow and become stronger athletes over time. But he definitely seemed to come back faster.
Oh yeah.
And in that spring, I took a bunch of kids down to Charlotte for a combine,
Mhm.
and and that's where he runs that 4.38 that everybody happened to find out in the country. And when that time got out there, people were coming from all over to recruit him, and
Oh yeah. I mean, they
they
want to know who
wanted
this
to
kid
see his
was, right?
film. They want to know who he was, and they got a chance to find out who I already knew. The kid was a special um, human being. He just wasn't a great athlete. He was just a special young man, and so yeah, I mean that's where we got to. And then his senior year, you know, uh, everybody wanted him as a defensive back, but then he got some recruiting late, potentially be as a wide receiver.
Yeah, I remember
And
ODU came calling,
you know,
wanting him as a wideout.
yeah, I
So
mean,
yeah,
he had
he
some
was
big
looking into
numbers
it.
for us as a wide receiver. Him and Kenyon hooked up quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean,
He was
I
actually,
tell Kenyon, man, just all you gotta do is put it in the air, throw it
yeah.
as high and as far as you can. He's gonna
We were
outrun
watching
whoever
this.
he's with.
We were watching his highlight film today a little bit, just kind of reminiscing and just running these quick little bubble screens and
Oh yeah,
running go routes or or post routes, and you just getting the ball in his hands in space, and he could just make things happen because
It
you don't
wasn't
get
easy
many
to
kids
take
who
down for
run that.
sure.
You don't get many kids that can run that sub 4.4. And typically, everybody on that high school football field is probably um, running high fours or maybe fives. And if you get that one kid that can actually run like that, you just sometimes it's just backyard football. Get the ball to the best player and just let them go work.
Oh yeah.
And it's basically was Darius at times. Kenyon and him had a great relationship, but they also had good timing on the field, and the ball was able to find him in right situations, and we put up pretty good numbers offensively that year.
Oh yeah.
Defensively that year, I think they just stayed away from him. I think defensively they other teams knew who he was, and he just didn't get many balls thrown his way.
There was
And
far too many
we
times where he
also,
was running from one side of the field to the other, making plays.
yeah,
I remember, I want to say it was against Charlottesville, but I mean, he literally came from like the 40 on the opposite side of the field, after an interception, and chased the guy
yeah,
down and forced the fumble like almost at the goal
yeah,
line. It
yeah.
just blew my mind how fast he was.
And
It
that
just
kind of
who he
stuff
was.
stood out because he did that more than a few times.
Oh yeah,
He
I mean,
was
he never
our
gave up. Never gave up.
no, he was our punter. He was our kicker,
Yeah,
and
he
he's
did
just
pretty much 99% of the snaps, right?
yeah, he's just our soccer skill. He was a great soccer player, so I want to use
Yeah,
his kicking skills, and being that athletically as gifted as he was, it also allowed him to be almost like the safety on the kickoff team, to where I knew no one was going to get out. If they did, he was going to chase them down. And as a punter, um, we did more of a rugby style punting. So
yeah.
if we wanted him to keep the ball, we just let him keep the ball, and
Which
it
happened a few times. I
happened a
watched
few
a few
times.
first down conversions.
Yeah, so we had this little green light signal, and he would be looking over me trying to. Our green light signal was just flashing the hands at each other, and he always wanted me to flash the hands, and I like go ahead, and
Take it, run
he'd
it.
catch it, just go. Yeah, so um, you can't keep a player like that strapped up. You got to let him kind of go do what he the good Lord's blessed him with.
Oh
But
yeah.
yeah, there's plenty of times that he's got things down. I mean, Spotsylvania game, the guy got out, and I said, "Oh no, he's gone." And you just see Darius coming from 20 yards away, and he chases the guy down and makes the play. And
I think that was on
he's done that.
the kickoff, wasn't it?
It was on a
At home?
kickoff
Yeah.
at home,
Yep.
so
Yeah. That was
he did that.
man, that was special. I
He
had
did that number
there
of
was
times.
a gentleman, I want to say he was related to Ricky Slade, because that's when Ricky Slade was, Woodbridge being recruited, obviously he committed to
Right,
Penn State, and they had an off week. So it was either his dad or his uncle, some family member, and he specifically came there to watch Darius play because he heard about him at the camp, and he wanted to see
right.
how fast he was, and that was the game when the kickoff, he literally ran from the other side of the field, chased him down, and he was like, "Man, who is that?" And I said, "That's Darius Minor."
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it was special.
yeah. I mean, he was that. Um, he was a difference maker, not just on the field, but as a friend to a lot of these guys, a lot of these kids to this day. Um, they want to put his decal on our helmets to keep his legacy alive. We have a framed picture of him in our locker room with
That's
basically
awesome.
his message of keeping his legacy alive. And so he has touched and meant so much to hear the younger generation or the generation slightly behind him. And I'm sure his story and what you're doing here with his podcast and um, what everybody's basically done here the last so many months and years to kind of keep Darius's legacy alive is important, and it's rightly so that he deserves to get the attention he gets.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I've worked with the university quite a bit, obviously, and through the university, they've been first class 100%, and they, obviously they retired the 39. They We've got the defensive rookie of the year named after him going forward, so it's now the Darius Minor Rookie of the Year award, which is really really special. Me and Cam, his younger brother, as you know. I had the opportunity to go to Maine and actually present the first annual defensive rookie or Darius Minor Defensive Rookie of the Year award at the football banquet after that 2018 season. And then that's when they had the ring ceremony, and we
Mhm.
brought home his championship ring. It's what they've been able to do has just been second to none. I mean, I
Uh,
couldn't have asked for anything different. I stay in
without
contact with
they're first class.
yeah,
They're
I mean,
first class. They're recruiters that have come down in the last couple of years, and every year they stop by and talk. And you
yep,
know, times we have somebody maybe they're interested in. At times they're just stopping by and just want to talk. And they brought me a hat and shirt not too long ago, and they just
that's
wanted to
awesome.
reminisce and talk. And they're first class. I followed you all on Twitter, and I've seen the story and all the different pictures that were taking place, and that's nothing but first class and being a special group up there
Yep.
to keep y'all in the loop and bring y'all in and actually honor Darius by using his name um, for these awards for years to come. And I believe that that team rallied around
Oh,
his spirit,
100%. Yeah.
yeah, that year and actually went on and played as well as they did all the way through. So I mean, them carrying the jersey out onto the field um, and just
Yeah, and
being
that
good football that
that
they
still
played.
continues actually.
Yeah,
I've I attend quite a few games, and every time I get there, the guys are pumped to see me. They come dap me up, say what's up. I talk to the coaching staff before game, and then obviously after the game we'll chop it up a little bit. But every single game, somebody different would always carry his jersey and lead it out on the field, and to me, man, every time I saw that, like, my heart just dropped because,
yeah,
like, these guys knew him all of 2 weeks or not even at all in some cases. But the
right,
impact that he had on that program in such a short time, really reflects exactly who he was as a person. And, for them to continue to do that, even today, when they start up in spring ball, they're going to be honoring them with the helmet decal again, as they will, next year. They're going to run the jersey out on the field. It's going to be on the sideline every game. It's he's there. I mean, he committed 4 years to the University of Maine, and they've
yeah,
returned the favor, and they committed to Darius for 4 years, right? Um,
yeah,
and there, there's no other way of putting it other than first class, like you and I both said. And then the fact that even some of the coaching staff members have taken opportunities elsewhere after that 2018 season, because obviously you start winning big time ball games, other programs are they're going to start knocking on your door, start ringing your phone.
yeah,
And obviously, Joe was the head coach. He moved on to
right,
Minnesota.
right,
I still stay in regular contact with him.
yeah,
Unfortunately, COVID has prevented me because I was planning on being at the Minnesota Maryland game, so
right,
I could see him, but that didn't happen. And then obviously, October 31st was the one game that Bubby City had circled on his calendar per se, and that was when he got to come home to play against JMU.
right,
And at the time, and I'm sure you're aware, some of the tactics that the previous coaching staff there used weren't necessarily the right tactics per se. And he got to really see some of those things, and for that reason, he was eager to not only
oh,
come home and
absolutely,
play in front of his friends and family, but he
right,
was eager to really show out and show them what they missed out on. And then it's kind of ironic. Coach Burkett, who was directly recruiting him, is now at JMU as their
right,
DB coach, and he and I we stay in contact probably the most. To be honest, we chat pretty regularly. Before I even opted to go this route and do the podcast, because I had been going around trying to figure out what I could do to really continue to keep his name alive and that legacy going. Obviously, I did a lot with the university, but what could I do here? What could I do more? How could I impact more youth? Right. So I took all those
right,
ideas, and one night it just clicked. I'm having a restless night. I can't sleep, and it just hit me. So the next day I reached out to Coach Briquette, kind of shot it by him. Got his thoughts and opinions, and he absolutely fell in love with the idea. He said he thinks it's excuse me, a really great thing for the kids, especially kids that are under recruited from rural areas, maybe
Yeah,
maybe they've got a lot of talent, but maybe they struggle in the classroom a little bit, because obviously, that was one of Darius's kind of
yep,
hiccups was, in the classroom and
yep.
and I got on him, since his freshman year. I was like, come on, man, like you
Yeah,
got to
we
stay
had a lot
straight.
of side conversations about that because um, I mean, he ended up going where he went to, and um, they came down. Coach Burkett and those guys came down, and they pretty much found a diamond sitting out there in the rough, and they
That's
brought him
verbatim
along,
what
and
Coach Burkett said.
yeah,
He's a
and
diamond in the rough because,
diamond in the
they
rough,
got to
and
steal.
you don't sometimes find somebody late in recruiting like that, and
Yep. I mean, that
they
was the
took a
11th
chance on
hour.
him. Yeah, they took a chance on him, and I feel like he was going to go up there, and he was going to be prime. Yeah, Maine had a really good defense, and they were sending guys to the league, and I just really saw the path to the NFL. I really thought he was going to go up there
You and
and
me both,
succeed,
man.
and Virginia Tech came in late. They liked him early.
Yep.
Some of them were kind of scared of their grades, and
Yep.
they came in late, and they really wanted him to walk on to there to Tech. And I think even if he went to Tech, um, the journey was going to be successful because they
Oh
you
yeah.
know they consider DBU down there, and I feel like he'd have fell right in. And
Yep.
he had a really good camp. I took him, when we took him down there to Tech, he had a really good camp down there, and I just um, Darius was going to make it wherever he went,
That
and,
was it. Yep.
and it was just sad to hear how what took place, and that was it was to you and his family, and to all of us who were right here with him. That was a tough time. It was it, it
Yeah.
hurt, and
Very,
it hurt
very
all
difficult.
of us.
I remember getting, I get the call from my wife, like we gotta go to her grandma's, and I'm like, all right. So we get there, and obviously, the family's there already, and everybody's kind of scattered out and super emotional. And initially, I was thinking something happened to maybe one of her grandparents because their age and such. And then once I got the official word, man, it's like, damn, like how, why,
Yeah,
you know, um, he was too good of a kid, too good of a person. He had more than enough opportunity to go out and do what most teenagers do. They go out, party, have fun, try things, but he elected to not do those things.
yeah, he
He
didn't do
wanted to
those things.
stray. He wanted to stay on the straight and narrow and focus on his craft. Right. He wanted to
Yeah,
focus on his dream because ultimately, he wanted to make sure that he set up his mom to never have to work again. He wanted to give her everything that she could ever want, and that was his dream. He
he was
he
he
wanted
was on
her to
plan
be
to do
proud of
that
me.
too.
And he was,
And I
yeah,
just
he was on path. I mean, there was no doubting it. And I would joke
he
with
was
him
on that right
all the
track.
time.
He was on the
I said if you get to the league, man, I said you get picked up by somebody in the NFC East that's not the Eagles. I said I'm gonna have to low key, I'm gonna have to low key buy a jersey, especially if it was the Cowboys, because I am by far not a Cowboys fan. But I said if
uh,
you get picked up by the
I'm
Cowboys,
ashamed to say I
I'll
am.
be a Cowboys fan. Like my wife, my mother-in-law would have they
Yeah,
would have been ecstatic because they love the Cowboys, but I'm an Eagles fan. So I told him, I said, look, I'm a Darius fan, and if you watch my news interview
yeah,
when we took the family up there, we took 16 family members, opening day up to UMaine that year, and when they were interviewing me, the news folks up there, they were like, are you a Black Bear fan? I said, look, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a Darius fan. I'm a Darius Minor fan. He could have went and played for John Doe University, and I'd have rep John Doe University to the death, right? And just so happens that he went to the
right.
University of Maine, and I joked and said, you better learn how to ice fish because what else are you gonna do up there? But I stayed true to my word. I went up there opening day as I promised him I would, and then obviously, I attend a lot of those games and really stay in contact and really keep his name going. Man, I dedicated my personal Twitter page to him the moment that I got the news.
Yeah, you
It
have.
was 100% all about him thereafter. Like, I mean, I had it before. I would follow
Right,
Ocho Cinco, and like some celebrity news or whatever. But it got to the point where
right,
once he passed, I was like, this is it, man. Like, this is you. I'm
right.
gonna make sure people know who you are. And then come full circle to today. I've now got a podcast in his honor, and it's amazing how many kids are now reaching out in such a short time. I've done this, I think this is 2
Yeah,
weeks now, right? 2 weeks, I'm still brand new, still trying to figure it out. Um, but I was like, "You know what? I got a microphone, I got a Mac, and I got a personality, right? And I got a
yeah.
story to tell, so, I'm gonna utilize it, and
Well, I
that's
think you're
what I've
doing a
done."
hell of a job. I appreciate you doing this for not just Darius and his legacy, but for the youth,
Yeah,
giving them this platform to get their name out there and get their story out there, and the word travels,
almost definitely.
and social media, the Twitter platform, the information is getting shared out there, so you're getting the words getting out, people are seeing it, and it's just going to grow. And if you just continue this podcast and this show, it's just going to take off, and you're going to open doors for a lot of people. So
And that's
I
that's the
appreciate
hope and
you
plan, man.
having me on, but I definitely appreciate you doing this for the youth and for
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Like,
We were talking about how you heard from your wife and about um, Barris's
you're breaking up
death
on me just
there.
a little bit, I'm sorry.
We were at and we were literally did something done before. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know what's going on. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
I'm
hear you.
sorry. We were at football camp. Okay. We were at football camp, and we were staying at home this year to try to save a little money, and we were staying at the field house and pretty much brought all our bids and um, mattresses and air mattresses and sleeping bags, and we slept there at the field house for about 4 days,
Oh,
and we
wow.
were just doing 2 day practices there at the school. And each night we went out and we were doing different team bonding activities, going to the pool. We're planning to go bowling, do different things, and we were at a dinner, and the word the word came across, and I didn't know what was going on at the time, but I could see across a lot of other kids' faces that something wasn't right. Uh, Jalen Alexander and Chris Washington and Kyrie Carter and all these guys were starting to get really emotional,
Oh,
and
yeah.
um,
I can imagine.
and we had to figure out what's going on because I guess it was coming across their cell phones, and before you know it, they're talking to their families, and before you know it, it was brought to me, and it hit me like a ton of bricks. You're never prepared for that notification, and very emotional, and I had to stand up in front of those kids, and we talked and uh, reminisce and cried, and our administrators came in, principals, assistant superintendents, and um, guidance counselors. Our school rallied around it, and we thought about sending the kids home, and but those kids didn't want to leave. Um, the coaching staff stayed. I stayed. The administration was there, and we pretty much was just up all night long, um, talking and doing a lot of crying, and I thought it meant a lot to Darius that these kids could have used the opportunity to go home and run away from what was a lot of football, hard boot camp type of mentality, and they wanted to stay. Um, we talked about not having practice the next morning, and we really thought about what was going to be the right thing to do. And the kids wanted to practice, so they wanted to be there, and um, they rallied around the idea. Uh, Brought his jersey out for a lot of his games and gave it to his mom, and Jalen wanted to wear his number, um, for the last couple of years to kind of keep his legacy alive and honor him as best he could. And I'm just telling you that day will never be forgotten. And you know, I don't know, lost of words here, and I'm trying to hold back tears. But he's he's family, and
Most definitely.
he was he meant something to every one of us, and he's somebody that it's constantly on our minds.
Absolutely, absolutely. Nah, man, I definitely know it's difficult, man. Like, you know, every time I do this, as you saw, how I tend to open up every single conversation. I play his favorite song every single time, and just kind of let it sit, with him in the background, and kind of just sit there for a few seconds before I even come into the camera. I think that's just the right thing to do. I think that's my way of having him, be here and be a part of this. Because I know if he was here, he might not say anything because he was a quiet dude. He kept it
He
to
was,
himself. Unless he
he
was
was,
unless he was hitting you on the field, then he'll stand over top of you and catch the penalty, just to let
yeah,
you know how hard he hit you, right?
yeah.
Um, but
We
he,
were
he
looking at a play of Western Armor all today. He came
oh,
out of
I remember that. That's
the
that's
ball
that
was
was that
thrown
was when
into
he
in the
got that
flat.
penalty.
Yeah, he got a penalty.
I mean,
Ball was thrown into the flat, and he broke on the play, and he got a big hit, big tackle,
he
and
swelled
then
up his
he
arm on that play. I ended
yeah,
up,
he stood over top of the guy and got a taunting penalty. But
yeah,
um,
and then
so
I gave him
that's
hell the whole ride because I took him to Tech the next morning because
yeah,
after the game he came over, he spent the night at the house, and I took him up to Tech, and the whole ride I was like, come on, man, like I mean it looked good. Don't get me wrong. I mean that was a hell of a hit and it looked good. I said, but come
yeah.
on, man, that's your character. That's you can't be doing that. He was
Well,
like, man,
it's
he was
tough
pissing
to
me off.
I mean, you toe that line of what's right and what's wrong, and you flirt with that. And great athletes are able to kind of go up to that point and be able to kind of use it as an advantage. Because I mean, you got to find some fire that's going to allow you to kind of get up for these moments.
Oh
And
yeah,
Darius had that. He he wanted to be great.
yeah,
Um,
that he was.
he wanted to be that special one on the field, deserving of wearing number one on his jersey. He wanted to be that guy, and we always talked about with recruiting, not knowing who's going to be in the stands. You never know who's watching you.
That's it.
Um,
A lot of eyes
uh,
these days.
is having kids who looked up to you, the younger generation. You never know who's listening to you, and there's a fine line, and he had his moments uh, where he probably didn't control himself the best, but there was a
Sure.
lot more other moments where his play and his smile and who he was, that all American boy that he was. I feel like you know we all remember those things,
Almost
um,
definitely.
and he's a person that has meant a lot to me in my young um, career as a high school head football coach, and I'm just feel like it was just yesterday.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. You know, the kid he's special. I talk about him all the time. He's just it doesn't feel real, right? Like I go see him
Right.
pretty often. Even if it's no more than just riding up there. Play some Drake, get out the car.
Yep.
Kind of just kneel by him and not even say anything, just kind of sit there, right? And then,
Hmm.
pull off and kind of think about some of the stories that we shared, whether we were going to Blacksburg or, Harrisonburg or wherever we were going, when I was taking him on his visits. And, those were the times where, I could almost not get him to stop talking, which was complete opposite of who he was really, because he was a quiet guy. But when we were in the car, man, like we could talk, whether it was a 3 hour trip to Blacksburg or an hour and a half to Harrisonburg, we would just share stories, right? We talk about the game from the night before. We talk about
Yeah.
how his recruitment's going and, what his plan is. And then when he's taking his test, has he been studying? How is he doing in the classroom? Like we would have
Right.
these pretty deep conversations, and the boy wouldn't stop talking. Like he just talked, and I was like, man, like
Yeah.
this is cool because like Thanksgiving, at grandma's house, it's he was quiet. We'd play some Madden
Right.
or something like that, and he would talk some trash, but he really wouldn't talk a whole lot until he found that, like you
Yeah.
said, found that fire, and then once he did, it was a done deal from there. I mean, there wasn't much stopping him, whether it was
No,
him
yeah.
playing
We got
football.
into a lot,
Go ahead. He got in some altercations, right?
yeah, we
I've
got
heard
into a
some
lot of
stories.
we got it. I mean, yeah, I mean, that just happens. I mean,
Oh, it most
when you're
definitely.
passionate about something, me getting on him trying to do what I think is at times not just right for himself, but maybe right for the program. Me getting on him and his cousin a couple years ago, or it's been several years ago when they were freshmen, sophomores. Because I just wanted them to know that their academics was going to write their tickets to where they went, and not just their football talent. So I was on him all the time with that kind of stuff. But we used to have our debates just about uh, LeBron James versus Michael Jordan. He was a I was a person, you know my era and your era. I mean, you
I
may have your
grew
own
up watching
opinion, but
MJ.
oh my God, Michael Jordan
He's
might
the
have been
greatest
in
player in my
discussion.
opinion, but
Oh, without a
don't tell him
doubt,
that.
without a doubt. But you couldn't tell Darius that.
No. Oh,
And
same
he was
conversation with who's the better rapper, Meek Mill or Drake, right? It wasn't happening.
yeah. So no, so you would just talk to your blue in your face and give you all these different reasons why you felt you were right, and he would do the same thing, and it was fun. I mean, before you know it, a class period is over with in the gym class. He would go out there and freakish athlete, dunk a basketball or play a different sport. He was just that kind of kid. He
Outrun
just
everybody
wasn't
on
a
the
great
soccer field,
um,
score
sprinter
multiple goals.
or football player, but he was just a good athlete. But I would be able to draw him around, and just all you got to do is just ask a simple question. And you know, I love watching greatness. So LeBron James is that. But I would just stir him up and just talk about. I said, you know, he ain't the original 23.
That's it.
Now, Michael Jordan was a downright killer. He will just take games and take someone's soul, and LeBron James just wants to talk. And it was fun times. I remember those stories more so sometimes than the stuff that happens on the field. Is those car rides of taking trips to places or being around him and Kenyon and them two just having a great time, and that smile over your shoulder, it just kind of you know resonates because that's what I remember. You know, I remember seeing that right there.
Oh
It
yeah.
wasn't but so many times where you saw a depressed or a down person, and I was that year after his knee injury. But once he rehabilitated, and once the good Lord kind of allowed him to kind of recover in his own way, he came back stronger, faster, and all of a sudden that smile just went back on his face, and I think he started to see that the light was at the end of the tunnel, and he was close to potentially finding. It was a little nerve wracking experience going through his senior year, not really knowing
Oh yeah.
exactly what was going to happen, but he went out there, rolled the dice, he played well, he showed up, got a lot of good tape, and he
Oh
got
yeah.
his academics in line, and got him where he was supposed to be.
Yep. And
He
then
were the
finish it out with
sweethearts.
the Falcon Club
Yep,
winner, right? I remember going to
yeah,
that dinner, and
absolutely.
that was pretty phenomenal because I had no idea that thing
Yeah,
existed, and the fact that he was selected was pretty
yeah,
special, and the fact that he
yeah.
wanted me to take him, I thought that was pretty cool, right? And
Oh,
then
you didn't take him to
I
him.
still
Yeah.
look at those pictures, when me, you, him, I
Hmm.
can't remember the other gentleman from the team, but like his parents, and then grandmommy, we were just it was a very happy time. I remember going outside and staging pictures, act like he wasn't looking at the camera. He was checking his watch or something, with the
Right.
trophy in his hand. That boy loved some pictures, didn't he? But I remember that like it was
Yeah, he was
yesterday.
proud. Yeah.
I mean, it
That
was
was the Falcon Club. We they've been doing that for years. here in Central Virginia area, and they honor the local um, senior football players, and
Yeah,
each coach and school gets to bring their representatives, and it's usually their MVPs of the team or
sure.
their community citizen
Like standouts and such.
um,
Yeah,
standouts and players that they're doing everything right for their school and their community, and
yeah,
or
yeah.
great academic student. And Darius was well deserved to be that guy representing Orange County, and he was going to go do his thing, and man, but what I remember talking to the coaches um, afterwards and being interviewed with all the different news stations from up north. Everybody was looking for a story, and they were wanting to know if he ever had any issues when he was at school, and I was at high school, and I was like, his knee injury is about the closest thing he's ever had, and there was no sign to show. And this kid was as great as great as an athlete that I've coached, and he could run for days. Soccer
Yeah.
was constantly all over the field, and playing basketball and never looked like he was ever tired. And
Running
football,
track.
playing defense, playing offense, playing kick returner, running track. I mean, he was just constantly in motion, and there was no sign to see
Year
him
round.
shortness of breath or have a chest. He just none of those things came about,
Not at all. And then
and
when you get the call and you find out, how he passed, man, like you really start to question things, right? You wonder why.
yeah,
Like, he was probably the healthiest, most fit person that I knew. And the fact
absolutely
that, something of that nature could happen to him, being the person he was, man, it tore me, to pieces on the inside because
right,
there's so many talented kids out there that you hear, that aren't necessarily the best character off the field or off the court, right? And
right,
and he had all those things, and
right,
it was taken away. And it's like, man, like why? Not to say that it should have happened to somebody else because I don't wish, death upon anybody. But at the same time, it's like, why him?
right,
Like he was
right,
doing the right things. He had the right mindset. He was clean. He was on the straight and narrow. He didn't get into all the things that most kids his age really get into. And it's not
right,
necessarily a bad thing to hang out or go to, high school parties. You just have to be
right,
responsible with your actions and what you do. But, he chose not to do those things. Like, he
right,
chose to stay focused and continue working out, continue training. He wanted to get bigger, stronger, faster, and that's exactly what was happening in his short time, at UMaine. One of my last conversations via text with him, man, I was texting him, checking in, seeing how it was going, and he was like, "Man, these workouts are killing me." He was like, I feel like
mm,
I'm 5 times stronger and twice as fast already." And I'm like, "Man," he
mm,
said, "This is in high school." And just to hear him say that, and then I mean, I think it was maybe a day or two later, when I got the news, and it's like it's mind blowing. It'll definitely leave you speechless and
yeah,
kind of questioning things, questioning life, wondering why. But then when you sit back and you think about it, you can't do those things really because everything happens for a reason, or at least that's what I'm told in life, right? And whether we find out what that reason is, we may never know.
no, we
But
probably won't.
but what I do know is that as long as I've got breath in my body and I can speak, people will know who he is, and that's my goal. That's my mission.
No, without a doubt.
Once this COVID mess goes away, I look forward to going and actually doing live interviews. I want to go to high school
Right,
games. Not just in the area.
right,
I want to go to high school games across the country. I want to meet these kids, man. I want to hear their stories. I want to see them play. And then I want to take it further, right? I want to go to campuses, not necessarily the Virginia Techs and all of those. Let's go to some JUCOs. Let's go to some D2, D3s, because those are still fantastic opportunities. Because regardless of what your
absolutely,
level of success is, right? You can still be very successful in life because a very small percentage of athletes make it to their dream league, right? But a
right,
very large percentage of athletes make it into the workforce. And a prime
right,
example, episode 3, I talked with Jeff Devon, right? And he was the team captain on the defensive side, Bubby's freshman year, and he was a hell of a talent, but he didn't go to the league. He transitioned to the workforce, and now he's a director
Right.
of diversity and inclusion at the University of Nebraska. Like,
Right.
that's great. Like, I couldn't be more proud of him for doing that, and the fact that he's taken, his role, in really doing something phenomenal is just outstanding, and that's what I try to deliver to these young kids that I'm speaking with. It's like, "Look, don't let an opportunity slip you by." If a D3 school calls, pick up the
Absolutely.
phone and listen to 'em. Like, that was like, Darius was very hesitant
Absolutely.
going to
Yep.
Maine, and actually, because he had never been on an airplane. He didn't know really where Maine was. He didn't know
Right.
anything about the program for the most part,
Right.
other than, hey, they wanted to fly him out and give him an official visit. And, it
Right.
came down to us, playing a game of Madden, and I was like, "Look, man, like, just take the opportunity." Worst case scenario, you get out there, it's
Right.
not for you, but thinking of it as a job interview, right?
Right.
You learn from job interviews. You take it, listen to what they have to say, do your interview, and
Hmm.
then learn from it, right? And thankfully, that's what he chose to do. He flew out, by himself. That was the one visit I didn't get to take him on, because it was basically at the 11th hour, and flights were like 750 round trip, and it was midwinter, like, I
Right.
don't drive in the snow, like, it didn't work out. So, he
Right.
ended up going, and he was
Right.
so thankful he did, because he got to meet so many great young men on his visit, and, he built a brotherhood in, what, 72 hours, I think, 48 hours,
Yep.
and
Yep.
he came home, and he said it felt like home. I was like, "Felt like home? Like, what do you mean it felt like home? Where's Maine?" And then when I got to experience it myself, I could see why he said it felt like home.
Right.
The team and the brotherhood it was strong, it was deep, but then the area, it was just very Locust Grove, like,
Right.
very,
Absolutely.
very small town, not much to do, there just wasn't much there other than to stay focused on your grades, stay focused on your craft and your skills, and that's what those boys do out there, man. They're hungry. They look at themselves as underrated, talent regularly, and here recently, man, we're seeing more and more of them develop into pro athletes. And I've had the opportunity. I've interviewed 3 of them so far that have made it to the league, which is pretty great. And then I'm going to be chatting with a UMaine alum. Um, I think his name is Mike DeVito, if I'm not mistaken. But he was a 9-year NFL vet with the Kansas City Chiefs, and he runs a podcast and he does great things. And I'm fortunate enough to be in contact with him, and he's going to come on the show, and vice versa. Hopefully, I'll get to step on his and share what my platform's about. And then I'm hoping to take that network and just run with it, because if we can get several different perspectives, it's really going to give these kids a real raw idea of what they can look forward to, right? Because some people make it to the league, some people go
Without
pro,
a doubt.
some people go D1, they go JUCO, then go
I mean,
D1. I mean, there's opportunities there. You just have to be willing to listen, put in the footwork, and take a risk. It's all about taking risk in life, and it can be super
yeah,
scary. I mean, hell, he had never been on an
without
airplane.
a doubt.
He was scared. He was
You
scared out of
can't
his
be
mind.
scared to fail.
But he took the risk, and
Right.
what happened? He got the full ride offer,
Yep.
and he fell in love, and
Yep.
that was the end, the outcome, and that's
Right.
where we're at today. So, uh, look, man, we've
Yeah.
we've
The
shared some
message is
great
powerful.
stories, man. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's, very
I
powerful.
was just say your message is powerful because that's something I talk with my kids all the time. That you know, the making the journey to the professional level. 99% of our world, or 99% of the kids at the high school level, is just not going to make it there to the NFL. But
That's
it's
it.
that 1% that does. And I feel like Darius was probably going to be a part of that 1%. But
Without a doubt.
there's the chance, there's a chance that you have to take, and there are risks in everything you do. And going to these campuses and finding out if it's the right fit. And when he took that journey up there to Maine, And when he came home, I remember seeing this smile, and then just like the stress came off his body as if
That
he
was
knew
it.
that's where he wanted to be. And I was proud and to hear the coaching staff, from the first meeting to the phone calls to the multiple trips they made to Orange County to talk to him. He
Yep.
just they just felt like family, and I'm glad that things worked out, and uh, these other kids are going to get a chance to come on your platform and tell their story. It's going to open doors for them. They're going to find out what's right because typically when you talk about something enough, um, you tend to kind of figure out um, what you got to do next and what's right for you and what's wrong and those kids are going to continue to do things and having a person educating them and fighting for their story. That's what you're doing powerful, and I applaud you and appreciate your um, platform and opportunity, not just talk about Darius, but to have the opportunity to talk about some of these other kids.
Most definitely, man. That's
Did I
the
lose you?
idea behind it. And
Hello?
yep, can you hear me? There we are.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
All right, cool, man. Yeah. So I'm not going to take up much more of your time, man. I mean, we've been sharing some stories and some memories, man. Going down memory lane has been it's been it's been good. It's emotional, but it's been good, man. I appreciate it because, like I said, I don't think there's a person out there that knows him better, than you on the athletic side. And for you to kind of walk us through his high school career, I am super grateful for that. But before we end the show, if you don't mind, just being a high school football coach, lending some advice to anyone that's watching, whether it's young athletes or college athletes or even grown men in the NFL. What would be some advice that you've learned, whether it be through his process or through your own findings? What would you lend to these young athletes that are going to be watching?
There's a motto that I preach to my kids and to the kids I've coached. Um, no matter if it's football or um, baseball or basketball or girls softball, I've coached a lot of different things, but I've been um, blessed to be around some great talent with the football program. The motto we that I preach is make every day count, and you got an opportunity each and every day to get up on your 2 feet and go be great that day. Um, you may fall on your ass, you may come up short, you may fail at something, but moving forward and learning from your failures, learning from your mistakes, finding ways to succeed, dealing with these obstacles in life, continue to make every day count. Because the more and more you continue to do the little things right each and every day, it tends to add up to why you're going to be successful down the road. Um, there are habits that you're creating, those winning habits, those thoughts that's going to allow you to be successful. A lot of those things happen between your ears.
Oh yeah,
Um, if you get your mind right, your body will follow. And if your mind's not right, your body's not going to follow those things. And sometimes we get caught up and get our mind clouded about things. And if we don't find a way to kind of keep this right, um, you'll never get to where you want to go to. And so, I'm a big mental person when it comes to, are we fighting a physical battle or are we fighting a mental battle? I think physically, a lot of things tend to take care of themselves if your mind is right. And
absolutely.
that's something I try to preach to my kids. Um, make every day count, and that happens in the classroom, that happens in your family, that happens in your community, and more so it needs to happen in the people that your inner circle, the people you have around that you trust more than anything. Make every day count, because if you continue to do the little things right, your doors will stay open and give you chances at life that probably you never thought you had. You don't do the little things right, those doors close, and those opportunities. And Darius flirted with those things, and but then he turned it around later in his high school career and kept those doors open and he found a way and the tragic story took him away from here too soon. But I feel like he was every step he was taking was a productive step to get him where he wanted to go in life. And I really believe in the model of making every day count.
Absolutely. That's incredibly well said. I mean, almost verbatim with what I share, almost every single episode is, just be a better person than you are, an athlete. Because if you're a
Yeah,
better person, everything else is going to fall in line, right? I mean,
absolutely.
if you've got the heart and you've got the will, your talent will follow, right? And like you said, it's
No
all
doubt.
about making it count in your head. Get your mind right, stay focused, stay laser line focused, strategically on what you want in life, and you'll get there. It might not necessarily be the path or necessarily the program or the school that you want or that you dreamt of, but at the end of the day, the road to your success is going to be what you make it. And
Absolutely.
it could go through a D3 program, right? Like,
It
you
can.
know, it is what you make of it. And with that, I'm gonna, I'm gonna end the show. But I would love to have you
Okay.
back on. Hell, I'll
Yep.
extend the invite if you want to jump back on and bring some of the guys from the team, if they want to
Yep.
come and share their stories and put them on
Yep.
the platform like Donald Brooks did. Um, it's an open invite, man. And when COVID
Okay.
lets up and lets me get out and about, obviously I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna come chat with you and obviously be at the game. Hopefully, there'll be some fans in the stands, right? But until then, man, I
I
appreciate your
hope so.
time. And I'm just going to end it with whoever's watching these videos again, please share. It means more than you know to help these young athletes, and continue to keep his name and legacy going. So please subscribe. I say it sounds cheesy, but I say subscribe. It doesn't cost you a dime. Just subscribe. It's literally a click of a mouse or touch of a finger, and it really could impact a lot of lives and really help a lot of these young athletes that are looking for exposure and looking for opportunities. So with that, man, I appreciate it. We're gonna run this back. Um, good luck. I hopefully there's a season sometime soon.
I
Um,
hope so too. I hope so too.
but I'm gonna let you go. We're gonna run this back, man. I appreciate your time. It was great.
Rob, thanks for everything, man.
Yeah, for
Keep
sure.
up the good work, brother.
I appreciate you. I'll talk to you later.
All right, man.